Today we're very fortunate to have as our guest Adrienne Montani, and she is the Provincial Outreach Coordinator for First Call BC.
It's an incredibly important issue for children's rights and for the health of our communities and for the broader community as well. But of course there's a moral imperative that we do something about this issue and that we uphold our commitments to children's rights in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. So we know again that the stakes are really high on this issue, growing up in poverty for children can impact their learning, it can impact their future employment prospects and their vulnerability even to engaging in criminal activity. Everyone is affected by these higher trends in these. So the list is higher rates of poor physical and mental health, higher rates of violence and incarceration, higher rates of drug addiction, higher rates of obesity, higher rates of imprisonment, teen pregnancy, shorter life expectancy for everyone in more unequal societies. Whether you're rich or poor, the overall life expectancy comes down. So that rich people in very unequal societies have shorter lives than rich people in very more equal societies. But most of the data that I'm going to show you today is still from last year's report card, but it's not a lot different. The trends, the numbers might change marginally, but the trends are very much still the same. So as you can see, BC here had a rate before, this is on a before tax measure of child poverty of 14.3%. We tied with Quebec for second place, or second worst in the country behind Manitoba. We were the worst for 8 years in a row, and that finally ours has come down a little bit. Manitoba's has actually shot up quite a bit in the last couple of years. So, but one thing to remember, so the risk of being poor is much higher in a female lone parent family, but the bulk or the majority of poor children in the province live in two-parent families. So they often have two parents working, or one working and one who can't work because they can't find childcare. So that's the bulk, and then there's the greater risk area. And there's a lot of children, and many of them living in poverty, who are being raised by grandparents and other relatives as well, that are, and the poorest 50%, half of the poorest families, which aren't all even poor, they're just the bottom 50 in terms of income, take home less than a quarter. So 3/4 of the pie goes to the top half, and 1/4 goes to those who, many of whom are middle class families in that lower quarter. It would cost us, as this shows you, less to fix the problem than it is to keep doing what we're doing. If you want to support the status quo, it'll cost us. It's costing us, though this isn't always visible to people, but it's costing us that much in healthcare costs and all those other costs I mentioned and lost productivity. Whereas if they, in the report they cost out what would it cost to raise welfare rates, to do this, to do that, and we'll go through some of those recommendations, it would be half the price. So they're good economists at the CCP. They've done a good job on this. But if you're getting 55% when you're on maternity leave or parental leave of a very low wage, you can't afford to live on it. So yes, it might look good on policy to say we've got 52 weeks that you can share with your partner and you can all take a year off. But in reality, low-wage workers can't do that. They can't afford to live on 55% of $12 an hour or something. This is planning if you're an adult over 19, get your glasses funded anymore. So all those things need to be done. And these are all things that are quite doable if we muster the political will. Our annual poverty report card that we put out is a tool for all of our coalition partners around the province to use. The BC Teachers Federation is one of our partners, but also people from health, from childcare, from youth services, from a range of different backgrounds. Because it's a call to join us in trying to let government know and the opposition know that we expect better for our children. That we have specific policy recommendations that we want them to act on. That we don't accept that we can't afford it argument anymore. And that we will no longer be party to blaming individuals for their own poverty while ignoring the way poverty is created by public policy decisions. At all three levels of government, about income inequality as a priority you want them to address. Share stories about what you're seeing in your classrooms, in your communities, because those are very powerful, and that's sort of sometimes the privilege of being a professional, whether it's a health professional, a social work professional, a teacher. Just you're witnesses to the issues that the children and the families that come to you for service. We can be a caring society if we want to, and we should have respect for human rights. That's what I think Canada stands for. And fairness is a really important value. use examples that I've shown you just a glimpse of, but of countries and provinces that make better choices, different choices, and support families. So that's the sort of, when we can't afford it, it comes to you, well actually other places do it better and we can do what they do. There's no reason why we can't. To your vote. Because what we're in is a struggle to reclaim our better selves, I think, and our better values, and it's for our children's future. So please join us in those actions.
There we go. That's what I want. Thank you. Okay, you keep going.
Just to show again in a concrete way what can actually be done about child poverty and contributing to the well-being of children, and because this is going to Elizabeth Fry Society, battered women in our province as well. So a big hand to everyone for your contribution.